A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the first review show of the season from your boys at the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Lads, what a day. I've not enjoyed myself that much in ages. Not only did Town win 3-0 at home for the first time since Boxing Day 2023, but I got my first compliment from a woman since about 2003. When the girl in Dixon said I had nice silky hair. What a day, boys. What a day. Oof. Anyway, so joining myself, Matt Shaw, on this week's episode of the review is Ian Kilroy. No longer Ian Kilroy Silk, because I've taken that. And sniffing a sense of the good vibes, the big man, Neil Wayne, is back for a turn, as we'll look back over yesterday's 3-0 win over Orient. I've said 3-0 a couple of times because it feels good, doesn't it, boys? So before the game, there was a really good vibe outside, wasn't there? There's a bit of a buzz. So little window into my personal life. So I were always sort of running in at 3:00 last season because my little boy, Charlie, he has swimming lessons at 1:15 on a Saturday. And he's just gone to the next level, and that's at 9:10 now. So managed to get there earlier. So I'm not usually there before 2:59. And walking around outside, and the sun was shining, there's a really good vibe about the place. There was just, do you know when you turn up sometimes, I know pre-season, so I should say this, the first game of the season always has that little optimism, but it just felt a little bit different. It just felt everyone was kind of quite happy outside, and I know the new season and sunshine makes a big difference, but it just felt a little bit different, and the vibe was good. And you went into the ground, and the crowd got straight behind them straight away, didn't they? Lee Grant's Barmy Army, the Cowshed Loyal were loud, and I think we should mention about the Cowshed Loyal as well, because I thought that tifo, shall we call it, or what's what it is, isn't it? I thought that was outstanding from them. Good to see Leo Castledine outside as well, the new signing. Nice, and I think those are always good touches. So what I thought was great was the tifo. It had the top trumps in it from Cecil Potter. I know they're trying to bring the name of Cecil Potter into the mainstream, because I think a lot of people think Herbert Chapman was there for all 3 titles. He wasn't. He was there for 2, and then slung his hook to Arsenal. So I think the only thing I'll question about the top trumps on that they stuck up was Herbert Chapman's 87 for loyalty, because he did sling his hook for Arsenal, didn't he, when a better offer came along. But honestly, it was fantastic, wasn't it? There were 2. There were him, Potter, and then at the front I did argue with Poz earlier. I'm not convinced that it was the Gladiator slogan about echoing, what you do in life echoes in eternity. I'm pretty sure that was done in WWE First Killer, and then Gladiator nicked it and Poz isn't having it. But it was fantastic, wasn't it? It just added, Neil, to the experience of that vibe, and everything just felt great, didn't it, going into the first whistle?
I think you've nailed it all. Just from arriving at the ground, everyone where we park, we sit in the car for 15 minutes when we've got there, just having a bit of a natter first, and then everyone walking in, it wasn't glum faces anywhere. They were everyone just smiling, the load of new shirts knocking about, and they were quite literally a spring in people's step, and I think it just followed through the whole day. Literally from start to finish, were just if you could nail an opening day from start to finish, off and on the pitch, that were it, wasn't it?
Keller, what do you reckon? You sit to just a little bit to my right, don't you? So our view of the tifo is slightly on an angle, isn't it? But it was great, wasn't it? I really enjoy stuff like that. I'm a big fan of it. And when the boys make an effort, so I spoke to Ben a little bit, Ben Greaves, the General Grievous, about it before, and he said it took over 300 man hours for them to create that. And it's incredible commitment, isn't it? What they do, and it's hard work that they put in. And they lost the gas club, didn't they? Where they used to do a lot of their painting upstairs and what have you. So that's why some of the tifos have dipped a little bit, because they've not had anywhere to do it. But I think they look like they've found somewhere now, and they're working hard. And they've got a crowdfunder as well that I really want to mention. Crowdfunder.co.uk/p/cowshed loyal thrice champions tifo. I'll put it in the episode description below, so you don't have to remember that. But they basically work off donations as well. So if you want to see more things like that throughout the season, throw some money their way, and it won't go to waste, because they'll spend every little bit they have on materials to make something decent. And great one, Kill.
It's fantastic, Matt. And I've spoke about this before, and I'll say it again now, that I think without getting the South Stand, we'd never make the Premier League in the first place. I think the encouragement and the support and the motivation you get as a player and just as a club, even fans in the other stands, you get from that end being that way, is something you can't underestimate. But I think many people often do. And to be fair to the Cowshed Loyal, they've actually taken a few pelters over the last couple of seasons, very unfairly. But I thought they put an amazing show on, and I know they've got plans for the rest of the year that will also be as amazing as befitting the thrice champions year, Matt. But I thought, like you boys have said there, from the beginning of the day, I parked in town and went to the Vulcan for the first time. Actually, I had a nice cheap £3.30 pint in there, which is still pretty silly that that's now considered cheap. First time I've been in, but the vibe in there was really good beforehand. I just think that entire day, from the moment of getting into town, and even like you say, from kick-off and throughout the way the game went, felt like the exorcism of Huddersfield Town in regards to everything felt new. Everything felt totally different than it has done over the last couple of years. And even when things were going well last year, okay, we had Peterborough first game of the season, and that we'll get to that later on in the comparisons to this one. But straight away, it didn't feel like everything had changed because the players were similar. What we had on Saturday, what we had yesterday, was an exorcism of everything that's been shit for the last few years. And it feels, okay, we don't know how this season's going to go, but I think we can safely say it won't be anything like what we've had recently. It feels different from the vibe in the stadium, from everything on the field. It's very, very different. And I think it's important, even before we start here, to appreciate this has come on the back of Kevin Nagel's financial investment into the playing squad, which has been pretty unmatched in the division this year. Again, after it being really poor last January, not in what he spent, but how it went, he's stuck at it and brought in the right kind of players, or it looks like that right now, to change that culture. He's brought in the coach in Lee Grant, that we can question how much of his managerial motivational talk sound very American. It's really worked and resonated well with everybody, looking at how everybody approached the game yesterday. And I think the club have done such a good job over the summer of changing that narrative, Matt, from what we had last year, where it did feel toxic really quickly. And I already sit here tonight confident that won't happen again this year, regardless of how the results on the field are, because the players that we have and what they put out at the weekend was so vastly different to anything we've had for such a long time. And I'm still quite buzzing off the back of it. Not just the result, not just the performance, but everything about the day felt like a new Huddersfield Town, and we have needed this. And it should have come earlier. It might have taken a year longer, but it really feels like we're now at the point where we can rebuild something special. And it all comes down to how it felt yesterday. Absolutely. And it's amazing me sat here at this point saying it, but that's how I feel.
Throw in as well the new shop, because I was in the club shop and it took ages to queue for it I went after the game, and there was a pretty big queue for it, which you'd expect because it's new and people like me just want to have a nosy at what's in there and what it looks like. And it just looks like a professional shop all of a sudden. Before it was all right, it was fine, but I never really noticed what it could be in there until you go in, and it's got all the LED lights and everything that would just make everything look better, and the use of space is really good in there, and it just looks really smart, and that just added to it as well. And all of a sudden, it just feels like we've got. And I don't mean to sort of denigrate previous owners at all by this, because I think they've all done a really good job going back years now. But it just, and I don't want to give Kevin Nagel too much praise. I am going to give him a lot of praise, but I don't want to give him too much, because obviously we've dropped a division, and I know there's a few Town fans will go, hang on, Matt, we're in a lower place from when he came in, but he's put his money in, and the football club feels more apart from him on Twitter, I will caveat that the football club itself feels a lot more professional in its outlook in a lot of things that it does. And I know, Neil, you've spoken to Paul Reeves before, and we don't need to go into
No.
that and stuff. But the people that he's brought in, we had Daniel Francesco, who's no longer with us, but he's not dead. Sorry, he's no longer at the club. But he did a lot of work for H Town, didn't he, as well? And H Town looks fantastic, apart from the lettuce, Neil. But there's like that's fantastic. That's an in joke. And the club looks fantastic. The club shop looks fantastic, and a lot of the way the club is, and they've taken more people into the media team. The media output is better. The
media
video
output is
phenomenal.
before.
Yeah, the video for they've taken Jay, our boy Jay, haven't they? So it's obviously going to go up a level with our boy in there. But the kit video was phenomenal as well. That kit release video was brilliant. I loved that. I watched that 4 or 5 times, and then 4 or 5 times the next day. I loved it. But everything just feels more professional, doesn't it? And the football club feels like it's also. I know it's taken a while for Kevin Nagel to get and his team to get their feet under the table. And look, there were years of underinvestment which caused what happened at the football club at that point. I think whoever came in was going to struggle at that juncture unless they had a lot of experience at running an English football club. And it just feels like they've now got a direction that they're going. They're still fighting for control of the stadium and other little bits and stuff. And that's going to be a slow burner, I think. But a lot of the football club where they've employed good people and they are providing a really good professional outlet and making others look professional. But yeah, the Twitter stuff we'll gloss over.
I think with what Americans do very well is shout very loudly, and I think the marketing and branding side is what they're really good at. They're really good at pushing stuff and making things probably seem bigger and better than they are as well. But what they have done, and I mean, I've been a massive critic of Nagel, and I think, the last 2 years, people go to watch football, don't they? And if that's shit, people are quickly going to turn away from that. Yeah. So, but the fact that he's pumped in, I mean, I don't know the numbers. I know that he's spoken about numbers before, but the amount of money that he's actually thrown into a ground that's not even officially ours yet. Got to remember that as well. He's thrown a lot of money into something that's not actually owned by him and improved it. When you walk in there now and it feels it doesn't even look like Giants are even remotely involved now. It looks like a proper Huddersfield town ground. Everything's blue and white. Everything matches, the branding, the marketing, the shop. I went in, like I said, I had that meeting with Paul Reeves, and just going in the offices where all the staff are, even that feels better, because when you used to go in before and you used to go see supporter services or whoever else, it were all little itty-bitty offices down millions of corridors. But now just a nicely big open plan space with a nice kitchen area for them. And it looks the bollocks, to be honest. It does look the bollocks. And I think the amount of money he's now thrown at the team, there's different arguments on that. It could have been a while ago. But when you look at it sensibly, they've waited for contracts to run down. They did the right thing in all of them gone. And they've gone out and replaced with what looks like some real quality. I mean, I think we called it as soon as he signed Ledson that, we've signed his captain there, and we have. And he was a captain yesterday. He played a captain's role yesterday. I think he'll be a very sort of unsung, no glory, but drive the team on kind of player. And I think we've filled it with a lot of those. Some real positives, but yeah, I think marketing, branding wise, it's very American, but it's a lot of it's very good, very, very good.
Are you steering us onto the game, Neil? Because I think we've been here for almost 15 minutes now. We're not mentioning the game.
I sort of did, didn't I?
Yeah, dropping the hints. Let's get onto the game. That's what people want to listen to, isn't it? How we've seen the game. Yeah. So we'll move on. 8 debuts. We saw the 4-2-3-1 we expected with Ledson as the new captain. Miller started wide instead of Ruskin, which I think was probably the only surprise, maybe, that we thought we'd get.
The right
we didn't think. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. My first thought was, when I saw the team, my first thought wasn't the 11. It was wow, look at that bench. You've got Lee Nichols, you've got Balker, you've got Ruben Ruskin, you've got Taylor, Charles, Kasumu, Sorensen. That's some strength killer, isn't it? That's some absolute. I mean, obviously, we've got to keep players fit, etc. That's been a problem the last few years. But that bench is good, isn't it? That's a better bench than we've put out the last 2 years in the Championship, I think, in some circumstances. It's good.
Absolutely. It's a cracking bench. Luckily, we didn't need to really utilise it too much to get what we needed on Saturday. But it's just nice to have it there, Matt. And we know how tough League One is. We know how injuries do pile up in ways that are very unexpected, such as 10 minutes into the game on Saturday. But it's just nice to have it there, Matt. But the actual biggest positive of that on the team selection for me was we were talking to David Attrick about it on our podcast last week, in that Ruskin hadn't been performing too great, yet we still expected him to start because he was given opportunity after opportunity, and it was looking like he was going to start. But Lee Grant straight away has made a big call there into starting Miller over Ruskin, which did surprise, I think, pretty much everybody in the stadium. But that just shows you that a guy there is willing to make the decisions based upon performances alone and not just his own preconceived notions, Matt. It was a very little thing, that, but seeing Ruskin on the bench over Miller was surprising, but for me, a little positive. Obviously, it didn't take him too long to get onto the field, but just straight away looking at that bench, Matt, it's strong, yes. And in the first possible moment where Grant has to make a decision on who to start, to me, he got it right.
I think on back of that as well, you've also got the fact that you've got Castledine, Wallace, Feeney, McGuane, not even on bench yet. So there's real strength in depth further down, isn't there?
Absolutely. Let's talk about some incidents then. The first real incident of the game is Town kind of made this themselves in some ways. Not quite an architect to their own downfall, but you could kind of see what Town were trying to do. A lot of moves sort of start the fullback, and they try and turn the ball around the corner for the fullbacks to run on. So the fullback will play it into midfield, carry on the run. It's just a basic 1-2 really, but it works, doesn't it? With one of the two defensive midfielders then dropping in and then trying to play the ball around the corner. And Gooch did that a couple of times really effectively, and I thought Gooch was really good in the first half hour. Problem with me is I had my glasses on Saturday, and Gooch, Ledson and Wiles all look quite similar to me. They were quite high up, so I was having issues identifying, and I genuinely didn't think Ben Wiles had touched the ball for like 35, 40 minutes, and I realised, oh no, that's Ben Wiles over there. He's been playing quite well. So at one point, I had absolutely no idea he'd touched the ball. But the first real one was Gooch kind of, and you're going to get this a little bit at the start with understanding, aren't you? And he tries to knock the ball back to Watmore, doesn't he? And it doesn't quite happen. And Connolly intercepts. Watmore doesn't quite like being high up the pitch, and we'll talk about the centre backs soon. But Connolly, it's a good run. He runs across the line, and it's always a difficult defensive situation when the striker's good at running across the line, and he runs across and he hits the post, doesn't it, with the first effort on goal. And Goodman looks to have that covered, to be fair. It's a good effort from him. But that was kind of the first real sort of warning that there's going to be little misunderstandings here and there as Town get used to each other. Look, it's not going to be perfect flowing football. There's a lot of good signs we'll talk about soon. But that first one was just a little nod to say, do you know what? It's still work in progress, is this, and you will get moments like this as they do bed this system in, Killer.
Yeah, well, you can see, Matt, the entire game plan going forward for Town to get it. If Goodman didn't go long, which he did more later on in the game when that kind of worked, it was to get it out quickly to the fullbacks or to the centre backs, and then for a quick little 1-2, bit of a wall pass, but not back to the guy who passed the ball initially, but a little around the corner pass, like you say, Matt. What happened with the Connolly chance to start off with? I think Watmore played it into Gooch, and the pair of them got it wrong. Gooch wanted to go high rather than come towards the ball. Bit of a mix-up there, and Connolly straight in. But I'll tell you what, Matt, Connolly will get a few goals this season, because I thought that run for that alone, and this is a guy that hasn't played too much recently for off-field issues, as we've all heard about. But his run was phenomenal. I know it sounds like over-egging what he actually did, but he ran past Watmore eventually like he wasn't there. Lowe tried to stop him, couldn't get near him. Connolly's gone past him. Sean Rowan saves us in that moment. Sean Rowan didn't play long in the game, but he stopped them scoring for me there, in that he stood up well to Connolly, made it quite difficult for him to hit the target. He did hit the target in the end, hit the post, but on the rebound, Rowan's there again, doing enough to get Connolly to hit it over the bar. But you could see, Matt, straight away that there's going to be an emphasis on our centre-backs playing the ball out from the back. And now there was a few issues in there, because I don't actually think having Lowe and Watmore both starting at centre-back and playing out from the back will work all season without being caught, because we got lucky a few times with it. There's a part in the second half where Lowe really nearly got caught looking for it. But like you say, Matt, that's the way Lee Grant wants to play. That's how we're going to attack going forward, from the back, trying to retain that possession and turn it quickly in midfield. But playing like this will cause errors. And when you have errors, it'll be chances like Connolly had at the weekend. That is going to happen this year. I think that's something we're going to have to get used to, because that's exactly what we're going to be seeing week in and week out, I reckon.
We're going to concede and score goals, aren't we? And Neil, I think where Town struck back quite quickly, and this is where the high press is going to be so effective this season. Gooch pushes really up high, pushes up high on Adaramola, who kind of throws himself to the ground a bit. Ledson then plays it quickly into May, who lays it off to Wiles, and that is sharp. It's really sharp play, and you can see it's rehearsed. And Alfie May here, we'll talk about Alfie May in a little while, but he was really effective at dropping into those pockets and linking, which is, and honestly, I put in the player ratings that I've not seen a small striker at Town be able to do that since Naki Wells a while ago. And I know it's only one game, but Naki Wells was brilliant at dropping into those little pockets and linking. And then Ben Wiles hits the post, but it's a blueprint, you feel, for what Town are going to be like for the rest of the season. And we'll see it later on. But we saw the first sort of little sign where Town may kind of get things a little wrong, but we saw very quickly afterwards a sign of where Town things will get things really right as well.
I think we'll outscore people this season. I think we will let goals in. Just the nature of how he wants to play and how he wants to attack. I think how May linked the play, dropping deep. It just looked like a quality footballer. It looked like not somebody who's played all his career at this level, to be honest. It looked like somebody who's dropping down the levels later on as he goes. Just real quality all around him. And I think it also gives us potentially an insight into how we can, at some points, get May and Taylor on pitch. Because I think May could definitely play that deeper role behind Taylor, and Taylor as a front man. And I think we will see that at some point, because there will be benefits of having them both on pitch. And I thought Taylor looked really sharp when he come on. He almost looked like he were trying to prove a point and really pissed off that he didn't start, which he will be at, whatever it cost us, we're a lot of money. So he'll see himself as the number 9 and want to play more. But the whole setup from the game, I'll be honest, when they hit post early on last season, Town could have potentially crumbled at that point. I think the fans certainly would have crumbled at that point. There'd have been a lot of people out of the seats getting on the back. And I think the whole mood around the place before and how the game started, I mean, for first, it were bonkers that first 15, 20 minutes. It were absolutely nuts. And I think I put in our group, didn't I? There'd been more entertainment in that first 20 minutes than the last 2 years. And it felt like that. It felt like we turned up to watch something that you pay to go and watch. And it's been a long time since we've been able to say that. And just proper value for money. But yeah, the setup, I think we're going to let goals in, but I think we've got to be patient on that front, because I think we'll score a hell of a lot. I do think
it was just nice, though, wasn't it? Like you say, seeing May come short, Matt, doing dirty work that strikers don't normally do, or that Taylor doesn't. He's not him. That's not Taylor. Taylor does not do that. And we've got no Charles. Charles doesn't do that. Nobody else we've got in this team does that work. But what was the best part of it? It wasn't just May. Harness did the same thing. We were trying to get the ball to Harness as soon as we could. Or Ben Wiles as well. He was in that space as a 10, much better than I think any of us expected him to be able to do in it. But Matt, like we said all last year, having 2 DCMs and 1 ACM makes a massive difference to running midfield. It's such a difference. But all 3 of them coming short for the ball, and then that quick around the corner turn is what the entire performance was built upon. And you could see it on that first moment. You're right. When Wiles is at the post there, I was sat next to Gaz, and I turned to Gaz. I think that was 12 minutes in. And it was like, you could tell, that you say, Neil, there was more going to happen this season. It was going to be exciting. It was going to be open. Because the way we play football was front-footed football. It's not about having 100% possession. It's not about just kicking it long every time. It was passing with purpose. And from that Wiles hitting the post, you could see that was a design move. We have not seen a design move like that for over a year, well over a year, probably 2 years, since Warnock was here. Because he kind of played that kind of way, didn't he, Matt? There were little triggers, little moves where you went forward and you had guys doing distinctive roles. We got that within 10 minutes. I haven't seen that in pre-season. And that's one of the issues I had with Lee Grant's pre-season with Town. And to be fair to Mr. Artrick, he said that there's different things that we'll be pulling out. And that's what it looked like straight away. It was just such a change in the way we took the ball forward and that we tried to attack. It was very similar, Matt, to how Leyton Orient played against us last year. If you look at a blueprint for how Town played, look how Orient played against us in the final game of last season. There's more than one comparison there, in that they took our role and we took their role. But we're just going forward with a desire and with a purpose, and straight away it just looks so much different.
Yeah,
Dave 1, Killer 0. I'll just make a note of that for Dave. Right, so Killer, you called this, so maybe Killer equalizer here. In the, I think you called it in the, I can't remember if it was the preseason preview or the driving, didn't you? But Sean Rowan played every minute of Lincoln's season last year, all 4,140 minutes. And 15 minutes into his Huddersfield Town debut, he gets a knock and on 22 minutes has to leave the field injured. Gaz Hutchinson assured me that Sean Rowan never gets injured, and welcome to Huddersfield Town. I mean, I kind of tweeted this, just it was more sort of in an more exasperated as a laugh, really, but a few people seem to get upset by it, but it's what it is. Miller dropped into left back, didn't he, at that point, and Ruskin came on to play on the wing, which was a decision that had me a little bit vexed, I'll be honest. I just thought, Ruskin's a left back, play him left back. He's not a winger. And then Miller was playing quite well, wasn't he, on the left flank? I thought Miller was making a lot of progress up there. His final ball isn't always the best, but he was really sort of making a lot of intelligent runs and little plays in and around the box. And when you've got someone like Alfie May, someone like Miller smashing the ball across the box is actually quite welcoming, isn't it? For when you've got a striker like May. But they changed it, and that kind of altered the whole shape of what Town were doing a little bit, Killer. But Town won a free kick from the press again. So again, it's the press. It's Gooch this time. He wins the ball, loses it, but Harness wins it straight back, and then Ledson is fouled, and then Herbie Kane puts in an unbelievable ball. We were sat behind that ball, weren't we, Killer? It's an unbelievable ball, and you love this goal, didn't you? Joe Lowe kind of like shoulders it in. It's not handball because it hits him on top of the shoulder. It's a great celebration, isn't it? And players that love to play, players that you like to see enjoying themselves playing for the club. We've not seen that for a long time, have we? Which was great, but the ball in just begged to be put in the net, and you couldn't miss Killer, could he? But there were a few little things that you picked up on, weren't there, which you really liked in that?
Yeah, it was a fantastic design play. It was an absolutely fantastic design play. And our Orient went a bit zonal with the defending. And when you do that, you have opportunities. And unfortunately for Town, the way Orient defended that free kick will mean nobody else will defend that way against us again this season. So this goal probably will not happen again in the way it happens. But Town sacrificed two players in the play. We've got Alfie May and Sean Rowan. They stood offside. The defenders that are marking them are looking at them, but they're obviously the other side towards Town's goal, which is what normally happens, because when the ball comes in, they all adjust. If they're not going to stay where they are, then they're going to be offside. Anyway, May and Rowan don't move, and they just block the run. What that allows is Joe Lowe to run between May and Rowan, and Edmonds Green's there. He's marking Joe Lowe, but because of the two blockers, he just can't get around them. Joe Lowe's run straight through the middle of them, free. There's nobody near him whatsoever by the time he makes a real mess of the finish, to be totally honest, Matt. At first, I thought he just headed it straight into the goal, and it's a fantastic finish. And looking at the replay, the ball from Herbie Kane should be the goal itself, because Joe Lowe's just hit it with his chin or his arm or his chest, and it's just gone in. But the actual design play of that is fantastic. It is. You can. It's just nice when you can see stuff that they've done on the training ground actually pay off, and it was so designed, so well thought out, so well done. In that you've got a striker in Alfie May that usually most strikers like that don't want to do that role, because they want to be at the last man at the back post to try and score from that. If it doesn't get nodded in by Joe Lowe, they're trying to get there to the back post to tap one in so they can inflate the goal stats. Shows you exactly what Alfie May is like. He's not that guy. He's the guy willing to be the blocker for the 6'6" centre back to chest one into the back of the goal. It was a fantastic finish, Matt. Like you say though, it was the high press beforehand. The high press won the free kick and that's exactly where the goal came from. But what a start it was for Town. But even like you said before that, Neil, we gave a chance away. They should have scored. They didn't. The atmosphere was still good when that goal went in. It didn't even lift it any further. Everything was already really high. It was just controlled and designed, and it was a fantastic goal.
What do you make of the two centre backs, Neil? On throughout the game, we had Watmo and Lowe played together. Lowe, I think, was playing on the left side for probably the first time because he played on the right for Wickham. There's I think when Sean Rowan went off, Lowe struggled for little bits where he had to, because I think Miller wasn't wrapping round because they stopped that wrapping round into a 3, and so Lowe had to sort of come wide quite a lot into the left, and I think he was a little bit uncomfortable for a short spell in that, but then he adjusted and he was fine. Watmo, you see, doesn't always look the happiest high up the pitch because he's got no pace, but he pings a brilliant pass, does Jack Watmo. Honestly, he strikes a wonderful pass into midfield, doesn't he? And you could see there's little issues there where they may get caught, but there's also a lot of promise there as well, isn't there? How they played together, and Jack Watmo headed pretty much everything that came his way, didn't he? He was good in the air, and he was a leader as well, wasn't he? And both of them really sort of led from the back, and I thought they showed a lot of promise together, Neil.
I think for a start, they're both units, aren't they? I mean, Joe Lowe is absolutely huge. Like brick shithouse. Watmore looked probably the calmer of the two for me after the initial sort of first 5 or 6 minutes. It looked like he'd come from a level above, in my opinion. I think he will get stronger as we go along. I think Lowe, youthful exuberance as well, but obviously come out of a decent side last season. And I think the biggest thing for me is that they both looked a little bit edgy at the start, but they grew into the game and they both looked really confident and really happy. And I think that's spread throughout the side. And if you've got, it's going to be difficult for a minute because you've got a new goalkeeper, you've got a new back four, and when you're starting with, in effect, a new back five, that's a big thing. And that's probably, well, it's the base from where everything's going to come from this season. You could see that with how they work some of the dead balls with the short stuff that frightens me to death still. But when you watch it, it actually really works. I think did we get the penalty off that in the second half? That came from one of those, didn't it? Where it was
a high press was the pen.
There were one where we ended up with a chance on goal, and they made me nervous with 2 or 3 passes in 6-yard box. But
was it the Ben Wiles one?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been, yeah. And it would just, as Killer said, stuff like that. When you watch that, and you can clearly tell there's hours and hours and hours gone into that on training ground, and it's a planned move, and you can see how, I think it was Sorensen at that point who sort of dropped up nearly halfway and then took his man out and then dropped back in again, another 20-yard back, got the ball, and away they went. And just really, really, really positive. I think the back two have also got a lot of pressure on them because you've not got Feeney and Wallace yet as well. So I think we've actually got, and bottom, and paper mache man as well. So we have got quite a lot of. I mean, did we have about 6 defenders this summer?
Which splurge. It's a splurge.
We haven't we? We bought the 4 centre backs, and we've bought Gooch and Rowan. Which to go out and buy 6 defenders, it sort of shows you the intent, doesn't it? But they built the base well, and they just. Yeah, man mountains. I think they will make mistakes. I think they're both big lads. They will make mistakes. That's bound to happen. And we're in League One, but all power.
Josh Feeney's suspended for the game because he got sent off for Shrewsbury and his last appearance. Yeah. But he was probably the pick of the centre backs during pre-season, so he may well have started. I think he probably might have started that game again with Watmo, I think. But he's now got to work his way in because of a suspension, but that can only be a good thing with on Lowe and Watmo, because I think the competition there is going to be really good because they're all new, all trying to get into the side, but all support each other because the sort of support network seems really good at the club now. Whereas we've talked about culture before and how bad it's been and how we hear things at how bad it is and players not really caring and can't wait to finish training and get on the way home, etc. But it just feels different now. And it may well still be the case, but it just felt different, and the players reacted differently to everything, didn't they? Which was great. But we'll talk about the second half. At the end of the first half, Town have one cleared off the line. Alfie May gets one cleared off the line as well. The press seemed to take its toll a little bit, Killer, didn't it? After about half an hour, and we sort of talked at half time, didn't we? We were like, we thought they looked a bit knackered, didn't we? After half an hour, but to be fair, they came back second half, didn't they? But you can kind of see maybe there's some smartness to it. Maybe they know when to sort of do the press and when to sort of like stop it and change tact a little bit, because you can't press like a madman for 90 minutes.
No, you can't. You can't. You can try, and maybe in August you can do it for longer than you can in December when you get to some of these League One pitches that are a bit heavy. And I think you're going to have to adapt the way you press when the season goes on. I don't think you can do this all season. But you're right. We were talking about half time, Matt. It felt like we should have been further ahead than one goal. And my worry at half time was more that Leyton Orient couldn't be as bad as they were in the first half. Turns out they were probably worse in the second half than they were in the first. But Town were really good in that first half. It was the perfect opposition for us, and I think it's important at this point to realise this as well. It's all right saying, Matt, we had 8 debutants. I think Leyton Orient had, looking at my notes here, they had 2 starters from the last game when we played them at home when they battered us 4-1. They had 1 person on the bench, or 2 people on the bench that were involved in that game. Cooper didn't come on. So Orient were in... Beckles, he's only got a knock. So Wellens did... I won't say rest a couple of players for the game, but there were a couple of guys carrying a couple of knocks that he didn't risk. But you could see Orient came out initially at kickoff to play the way they played last year, and now they aren't a team that can do it. It could be a mixture of we're much better, and that even if they did have the same guys, would have been better than we were last year, or also that they're missing 90% of the team that they had last year. And after the game, we'll talk about Wellens later on, he spoke about an immaturity in performance, and that he's got to realise that they can't play the same way as what they did last year, because it is very much a different team. But at half time, Matt, we're there thinking, oh, well, I hope we're not going to be regretting what happened in this first half, and that we're only one up. Like you say, May had 1 cleared off the line. Wiles should have put potentially 1 away, and there are a couple of other little chances that we should have done better with. But no, as soon as second half starts, straight away we look like the better team again. We look fantastic from the off, Matt. And I think when you're looking in that first half, one thing that really stood out to me was that we've brought all these new lads in. They've been in 2-3 weeks, like Ledson, not very long. But it matters to them. It were like it were a playoff game for some of the lads. Every time we went out for a throw-in, there was some real clapping, and it doesn't sound like much, but the togetherness was visible to us in the stands, what was going on the field. Harness, I think Wiles made a mistake, and Harness went straight over to him, picked him up and said, come on, we're going. Same with Miller, same with Ruskin, because Ruskin he struggled a little bit at times, I think, playing as an out-and-out wing, which again, we'll get onto later on, I guess. But again, the lads all just rallied round ourselves, and after half-time, you can see they didn't get a bollocking at half-time. They got some sort of structured dialogue where it's encouragement rather than a battering, because you're not more than 1-0 up. And they just looked a different team. Again, it looked like we upped it again in the second half, Matt. And that's so rare for Town, isn't it? 1-0 at home, second half normally starts. In my head, I'm thinking, right, see out these next 15 minutes, then we'll be all right. That's what you're ready for. That's normally what you get with Town. We came out second half, looked even better. It was I can't remember the last time we've been like that at home. It was a statement of intent, because you could refresh that press, Matt, and it came back into it. And by the time we tired, we'd already won the game by then. So it went well for us at that point.
Let's talk about the second half. Town were better, like you've just mentioned. Wiles has a chance to make it 2-0, but finds the keeper on his left foot. I thought he had time to go in on his right there and just roll it in, but we'll talk about Wiles later. The pen, a penalty at home. It's won from the high press. Again, Ruskin it is who wins the ball back high. May gets wiped out. May and Harness work it to Wiles, who's brought down, and it was a stonewaller. And I was watching the referee. It looked like it didn't. It took him ages to give it, or it felt like ages. And I thought, he's not going to give this. And then he finally did, and it's like, bloody hell! It's a penalty. I wasn't there for the last time we got a penalty for the Northampton game, so it's the first penalty I've seen for a long time since Yahya Sanogo. And since Town's last successful penalty 1,984 days ago, George Orwellian, as someone pointed out to me on Twitter, or X. Since Town's last successful penalty, Neil, we've had the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had the White House insurrection when Donald Trump lost his presidency. Donald Trump won back the presidency. We had lockdowns. Russia invaded Ukraine. Labour formed a new UK government, and the Israel-Hamas war started. Since Huddersfield Town last scored a home penalty 5.5 years ago. 5.5 years. It must be a record. I'm sure someone's got, it's going to end up being me in it, but someone surely has to look into that. It must be a record for us anyway. Alfie May steps up, and do you know what? I fancied him, and the keeper was moving, wasn't he, on the line, Simpkin, and he was trying his best to put him off. Neil, Alfie May steps up, and it's an inch within the far post, and he just no messing, experienced striker, bottom corner, and you think might be a potential bargain we've got there for the alleged 1.2 million.
I think it's a giveaway, to be honest. I think it's an absolute giveaway. You've bought guaranteed goals, haven't you? You've literally bought guaranteed goals. You've bought work rate. You bought work ethic. You bought everything in one man. And I think a lot of time when you get players who come from or come into football late from non-league, etc., they do have a different motivation, a different effort level, and just class. It just looked absolute quality. Like I mentioned before, it looked like a striker who's been probably dropping down leagues towards the end of his career rather than one who's been down there all his life, because he's just different. 1.2 million is an absolute, it's a snip. And I understand why Birmingham have sold him, because they're going to go all out again and try and go straight up again. And,
Let's
you know,
yeah.
So, you know, his chances are going to be limited there, aren't they? So the fact that we've gone back and got him for that kind of money, is it more than we paid? Than we're going to pay last year? Yeah, but I think it's actually even more pressing that we get out of this league this year. So it does turn into a bargain. And when you look at what you've got for that money, and I don't think, obviously, referee told him to take it. He then just took his own time, gathered his thoughts, and I don't think anybody were in any doubt whatsoever that were going to nip him back at net. I've never felt more confident watching a penalty in my life, I don't think. And I think the fact that we've not had one for about 25 years, to see somebody just step up and just nonchalantly just stick it in corner, it was never in doubt. It just capped off a really top draw performance from him for me. And yeah, keep him fit, and we will be right up there at the end of the season. I think he's absolutely.
Did you catch his interviews afterwards? Sorry, boys. Did you catch his interviews? It might have been with Radio Leeds where we were talking about the penalty and the studying he did before it. Matt, have you heard this?
Yeah.
He said he'd studied. Is it the keeper's last 10 penalties? Simpkin. Yeah. He looked at Simpkin's last 10 penalties. May normally goes to the bottom left as he's facing the goal. That's normally where he puts his penalties. But the keeper normally dives that way. So he's done the study and he's put it to the right for a change, and he's found the side netting. But that shows you done it. That's not a striker who's 32, and you can look around the online forums and on Twitter seeing loads of other League One clubs saying, "Well, Town are spending 1.2 on a £32 million, a 32-year-old striker." No. This is still a guy that he's old of age, but not of habit. And when you're looking at the studying he's doing, it's like he's just breaking through, trying to prove himself. He's still putting the hours in to look at the tape. And to me, you see him play, Matt, and he doesn't look like he's a 30-odd-year-old bloke, does it? He looks like he's a young lad. The work he puts in is like Callum Marshall did it last year. Callum Marshall did the running as well. He wasn't as good on the ball. There's no comparison on finishing. But young, hungry lads running different ways. But Alfie May does that. He still does it at this point. I honestly, he could play till he's 40. On the size of him, the way he plays, he doesn't get involved in stupid tackles. He's clean the way he plays. But he's quick and nippy. His positioning sense is elite when it comes to this level. He is not a player that's 32 and 6'6" that's going to struggle to continue. He can play for a lot longer than even the 3-year contract he's got with us.
He's getting more clever as well. He's quite sharp, isn't he? He's a clever player. I was a little bit worried, Killer, that we'd gone out and signed another striker that was very similar to Taylor and Charles, and we might get much of a muchness and not much contrast. And I think that at times that might bear out, but also I don't think I really took into account how intelligent Alfie May was at just dropping into little pockets and linking, which I thought was great. And Taylor tried to do that as well when he came off. Taylor last season pretty much just stood around the edge of the box, didn't he, expecting the ball, and he worked really hard when he came on. Like Neil said earlier, he had a point to prove. Also, there were good cameos from Dion Charles, who went to the right, and Lasse Sorensen, who went to right back as well. The style that Lee Grant plays, I think, is much better or much more suited to the pair of them, especially Dion Charles. I think the way we played last year really wasn't set up for Charles at all. But this style of pressing, harassing, getting forward is tailor-made for Dion Charles. I'm not saying he's going to go out and get 20 goals this season or anything like that, But I think Dion Charles will look a lot better in this system than what he did last season. And I know some people say he couldn't look much worse, etc., etc. But I do think there might be a bit of a redemption arc for Dion Charles, a little bit. And Sorensen, I'm not sure about yet, but I've met Sorensen outside the ground with my little boy before, and he's a genuinely good bloke, you know, a really nice, decent bloke, throws himself into the community and stuff. So I want Sorensen to come through and do well. I don't enjoy seeing people bag him online and stuff like that. Private WhatsApp's fine, Neil, don't worry. But it's like I don't enjoy people sort of like laying into him online and stuff like that because I mean, if a player's a dickhead, you don't tend to be as bothered, do you? But when they're a good bloke like that, you tend to want them to do well. And that back heel was superb. The goal was superb, wasn't it? Again, it's such a great move. And then Charles plays Sorensen, and it's quick and it's smart. And Sorensen's back heel is just absolutely filthy. That nutmegs him. And Dion Charles doesn't rush. He plays it to the edge to Taylor, who on first viewing looks like he's picked out a spot between the defense, and Ruskin comes in far side and slots it in. On second viewing, you can see him Taylor hit the ball and then go, oh bollocks, because he's had a shot. but this is a thing, when you commit bodies forward, things fall for you a lot more. And Town haven't committed bodies forward for years. Even under David Wagner, we didn't commit bodies forward. Carlos Corberán, good, didn't commit bodies forward. We're committing bodies forward. And do you know what, Killer? I think we are potentially a good counter-attacking team's delight in some ways, because there were moments where we got countered and we were like, oh shit, this is going to be tricky, but we got away with it. But I do think a good counter-attacking team will have it on toast at some point this season. But before that happens, we're committing bodies forward, and 3-0. It ruined it slightly for me, Killer, because I said 2-0 in the driving and I was ready to lord one over you. Especially I said Alfie May goal and 2-0. But I was when it went in, it was great, wasn't it? 3-0. I think that's what Town deserved as well, a 3-0 win, because that second half performance was good, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It was fantastic. I had 3-1, so I got into that weird position where you're 3-0 up thinking, go on, just give Orient one, because a clean sheet or me being right, I'd rather be right than Town take a clean sheet. Do you know what? That's jeopardy, innit? That happens to me all the time on predictions. If as long as Town are going to win, that's the most important part. When it comes to scorelines, it's like, oh well, just ship one in. What more? Just give Conlick ball again. See if we can gift them a goal. Although, to be fair, we can't with Goodman. Goodman looks huge. He is massive as a keeper, isn't he? I know he didn't have that much to do at the weekend, but looking at the sides of him, I've got some real... He looks like a kid. He looks like an adult playing in a kid's goal. I know how he's going to go over the course of the season. He wasn't really tested too much. I don't really know. But he looks like the right kind of size, Matt. But no, you're right. We deserve a 3-0 win. It's nice seeing players that were so maligned last year, like you say, with Sorensen and Charles. And with both of them, Matt, there's no question on the desire. They were trying their hardest. If it's not working for them and it doesn't work at Town, and if they do get moved on eventually, it won't be through lack of trying, which I think is really, really important. Not every player works out at every club. If it did, football would be very, very boring. But I'll tell you what, Matt, if Taylor meant that as a pass, he should be playing for Barcelona or Huddersfield Town, because that pass, which was a shot, you can tell it's a shot because he's frothing with himself before Ruskin scores. There's no way he should be playing for us. That was an unbelievable pass, but it wasn't. It was a shot that he messed up. The thing is with Town, and so many players that we've had over the last couple of years, like managers, in that we went through so many different managers, the problems weren't the managers. The problem was the culture of the playing squad and the people bringing in the wrong players, right? I think most of us can kind of sit now, look back, accept that's what was going on. You're looking at Charles, you're looking at Taylor, you're looking at Bojan Radulovic. I'm sure he'll get a chance if he hasn't moved on before the end of September. All these strikers can't be as bad as we've seen over the last 2 years. We've turned strikers into shite over the last 2 years. Strikers have come to us with decent goal-scoring records. We can't even gift them a chance. And we're getting frustrated sometimes with strikers, Matt. But I honestly believe the biggest problem we've had over the last few years is that the defence has been slow, and that's now been rectified. But we haven't won a midfield battle. We did on Saturday. The midfield dominated that game, and it's so rare that we do that. But when your midfield dominates, it allows your strikers to get chances in different areas of the pitch, because they're not having to do the defensive work that they've had to do previously because the midfield didn't get it done. And that was the biggest difference on Saturday. That's why Charles comes on, looks fantastic. Taylor went wide right, did a little bit more running than usual. He did stop his press after 15 minutes, but it were a good 15 minutes, to be fair for him, because he hasn't done anything up until now. But it's because we're giving them the ball in the right places, Matt. We're doing the better thing on the ball to give them chances to do what they do best. You can't have so many strikers come in like we've had, and all of them look awful, and it just be the striker's fault. And that was prevalent on Saturday. And that's just another part of the exorcism. And that this season, I think it's a bit of a new start for everybody. Charles looked good. He looked good. And I'll be honest, Matt, of all the strikers we've brought in, I think Bojan's had the odd moment with his Thierry goal where he's looked all right. But with Charles, he's done absolutely nothing, I think. A bar at Shrewsbury last year, I think he was involved with a Josh Koroma late goal there. There's been next to nothing from him, but instantly, new tenure, new style, new impetus, and he looks okay, and he'll grow with confidence. It's such positive, Matt, to be able to see, like you say, new ways of attacking. Players, Sorensen, cheeky little back heel. I don't think he could do much else on Matt. He was going out for a throw-in, so all he could do was back heel it. But it's just nice because last year this wouldn't have happened, and maybe it's a little bit of luck. It doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't matter. They've done it, and we'll be so much better for it next week. Go on.
Do you know what does matter? The question of whether a man with short hair needs a headband. I think that needs covering from Dion Charles. There's absolutely no way he should be wearing a headband with that haircut. I'm sorry, Dion, but
I tell you what, most other teams in this league, and pretty much all of them, would look at the strikers that we've got on us books with those three, and they're all proven goal scorers at this level, all three of them. So we are pretty blessed. We are pretty blessed on that front. So it's. Do
you know who else is proven?
I was praying for Charles to get one on Saturday. I'd have loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you know who else?
Go on,
Reece Healy. And we haven't seen Reece Healy. So, but there's no. Do you know what the thing with Reece Healy is? There's no pressure on him now to rush him to get fit. Is there? That's the good thing there. So we may see a different, and he'd fit into this system really well. Bojan, I don't think fits really because he can't do the press as well as others. But Reece Healy, if he's fit, could. I just hope
I'd completely forgotten about Reece Healy. Completely.
Oh, that's why I thought I'd throw it in there, little grenade. Anyway, you've heard from Huddersfield Town fans, Killer, myself, and Neil. I think it's time to hear from the Leyton Orient end, and this is Paul from the Orient Outlook podcast, who dropped by with his thoughts on the game.
Hi there, Paul from the Orient Outlook podcast, giving a view on yesterday's game against Huddersfield Town. Looked fairly even. Opening exchanges, both sides hit the post, but we switched off when Herbie Kane's free kick was delivered right into the centre of our penalty area. No one picked up the spare man, and you took the lead. Really poor defensively. Richie would be quite upset about that. Lost a little bit of oomph later in the first half, but second half, the penalty that we conceded, poor one to give away. Sean Clare takes the standing leg of your man, but we still didn't really recover from that. 2 behind opening day of the season, crowd behind you. We really seemed to lose our oomph and our drive. You looked really solid without possession. You really made the gaps minimal, few and far between, and we really couldn't see a way through there, and we weren't really dynamic enough. Also, we thought the third goal, again, another poor goal defensively for us. Good goal for you. That cross shot, that shot / pass was really something that we should have dealt with, but we didn't. And as it stands, we conceded, in our opinion, not the best goals. But it is only the start of the season, and it isn't how you start, it's really how you finish. All the best to you all for the rest of the season. See you at Brisbane Road.
It's like your love life, that, isn't it? It's all about how you finish and not how you start, Killer. But I think that's quite fair enough. Quite quickly dropped by, didn't he? So thanks to Paul from the Orient Outlook for that. One person who dropped by, and I didn't realise he was playing for 55 minutes, was Josh Koroma. My glasses really need checking, I'll be honest. Me and you, Killer, spoke at half time where I said I hadn't seen Josh Koroma. Is he not playing? Because I didn't look at the team before like an idiot. And you were like, yeah, he played first half, and I was like, but he just, I don't know why. I think he's changed his hair and he looked a little bit different, and he had that. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's that hunch that he has. But he was very quiet, wasn't he, Koroma? And do you know what was really weird? There was no reaction to him at all at any point, and I just felt that was a bit strange. I know it's the new season and we're all excited, aren't we? I didn't see it, and my little boy desperately needed the toilet at the end, so I don't know if Josh Koroma did, came and clapped the crowds or anything like that. But he was really anonymous, wasn't it? There was only one thing he had, Killer, and that was the cross. We'll just talk about Alfie May on that one, because Alfie May gives the ball away, and the ball gets played down the right. Josh Koroma. Connolly should do a bit better, shouldn't he? When it's a great ball in from Koroma. But who's the man at left back who's busted an absolute gut to try and block that cross? It's Alfie May, and it's the work he's put in there. He's lost the ball, and he worked really hard to try and obviously he's not blocked the cross, but he makes up about 25 yards on Koroma just through sprinting back. And I thought that's the kind of guy you want in your team. Do you know what I mean? The guy who loses the ball and then sprints. Very Wayne Rooney-esque, wasn't it? Because he used to do the same. But he made the error, and then he just worked his way to try and win that back. And that's what you want in your team, just players like that. And I just love that. But great ball from Koroma. That's literally the only thing I saw him do, apart from Sky that free kick as well towards the end.
It's accountability though, Matt. Without me, it's accountability in it. Yeah, but the thing is, this is where Orient are compared to last year. Ethan Galbraith had a very similar break last year, if you remember, Matt. Galbraith crossed it in, and Abdullahi scored with an amazing heads to make it 4-1, if you remember. And everyone's the cross from Galbraith is incredible. What a cross, amazing. Koroma's done exactly the same thing. His cross is brilliant. The cross is fantastic. But this is where Orient were last year, riding the crest of a wave, going to the playoffs. They'd already won the game. Perfect cross, perfect finish. They score no problem. When everything goes wrong, this is what happens. Koroma puts in a cross just as good, and Connolly has to score. He's 4 yards out? 4 yards from giving me a perfect 3-1 prediction, Matt, and he stuffs it up. That's where Orient find themselves from last year to now, and that's the difference for Town. We're on the up, they're on the down. Things go right for us and wrong for them. That's football, and that's the beauty of it, isn't it, I think? If it was always predictable and it always went the same way, we wouldn't be interested. But when things like this happen, you've just got to enjoy it when it goes your way, because it doesn't go your way anytime. Koroma looked, though, to be fair, Matt, Bar Connolly, the best player in their team without doing too much. I think Orient really will struggle this year. Going forward, they offered very, very little. Koroma had one of those games, Matt, that we've seen over the last however many years he was with us. 5 years, was it? More. In that when things aren't going right, he switches off. He does switch off. His body language is awful. He doesn't particularly look like he wants to be there. He's going to have to be a leader in the Orient team. And I think Josh Koroma having to be a leader for any team isn't a great thing, especially if you're not right at the right end of the decision. No, it's just not him. He does well when the team's doing well. He's not the guy that drags you to do something special. And I think that just shows you where they're going to find themselves this year.
If Koroma had been playing for us on Saturday, they'd probably scored. Because we were that dominant second half. That's the kind of game where he would have shone and would have cut in and would have stuck one in. But if you're up against it, you don't want him in trenches, do you?
Always. Some observations then. Lee Nichols on the bench, Neil. He's had his number moved from 1 to 22. You'd imagine that he's going to be champing at the bit, and it's champing at the bit, not chomping at the bit. Some people will always say, but he's. I think it looks like he's Owen Goodman's coming and he's looked really solid. And I thought what was a nice touch as well is when Owen Goodman was walking off at half time, Lee Nichols was straight over to him and they were chatting as they came off, and he was offering. It looked like he was offering the wisdom of his experience, and I thought, and like you say, like we said earlier about the culture and the team spirit. That again, that was another good sign that's happening. He's not sulking. He's not sat in the dugout and then sloping off. He's straight out to the new one who's coming, and he's chatting to him on the way off. I just thought that was really good. I know goalkeepers tend to be quite tight as a unit, but it's also very competitive, isn't it? In that the only one can play. It's like Highlander, isn't it? There could be only one, and like he's done the right thing and he's used his experience there, Nichols, and that was good. But he's going to have to be patient this season, Neil, if he stays.
100%, yeah. I think quite telling that Goodman's come in and started straight away, to be honest, especially as a young lad. He's basically walked in and booted out probably one of the most experienced keepers in this league, who has got a great track record for us, let's be honest. A few dodgy moments, but don't every keeper have them? So yeah, it's how patient Nichols will stay, playing a number 2. But he was coming out at number 1 shirt that I found odd, if I'm honest with you. Because that's like, you couldn't imagine Taylor saying, give Alfie Mate number 9, could you? So I just find stuff like that really odd when they drop out of a number so easily. Whether it's a superstitious thing because it's not gone particularly well while he's had it, I don't know. Because I know they're all a bit on odd side with stuff like that, aren't they? But It'd be good to see him stay. I think it leaves us with, when Chapman's fit, with 3 very young keepers if he doesn't, which I won't be too comfortable with, if I'm honest. So, yeah, let's hope he stays, but I don't know. Watch his space.
Gooch, I was impressed with Lyndon Gooch, killer. I thought he put a really good tackling really in the first 5 minutes, didn't he? He used his left foot, and he's someone who's played in attack a lot, hasn't he? And you can see that when he moves forward. But defensively, he was really solid as well. And like I say, his game had to be adjusted slightly, and he had to be reined in a little bit when Rowan went off. But I thought he made an interesting set. There was a tackle. Cosy loves to be the contrarian, doesn't he? And say Gooch should have been sent off, and I was like, no, mate. But it was Cosy, if you're listening, sort yourself out. Watches too much Spanish football, that lad, where you get cards like confetti. But it was a strong challenge, let's say. But I think he got what he deserved, probably there. But I was impressed with Gooch. I liked it. I was all aboard the Imre train, wasn't I, for the right back slot? But Lyndon Gooch came in, and I liked what I saw, boys. I thought that was a good little cameo from him. Well, cameo, good first performance.
Did both those lads start for Blackpool, who we were after?
Which one, sorry? You're after Imre
and Horsfall went to Blackpool as well. Did they both start in the team that let him 3 at home?
You know what? We don't usually talk about other results, but we talked about Stevenage pre-season, and we were kind of bigging them up as a bit of a dark horse, weren't we, Killer? And they went to Blackpool and won 3-2, and it didn't surprise me because I think Stevenage are quite low-key decent, despite who they've brought. But Horsfall played in the middle of a back 3 between Hikwe and Casey, and the substitute Imre wasn't included by the looks of it. But yeah, Horsfall did play, Imre not yet, but he might play when we go there in a couple of weeks.
Now, Gooch, I thought, was fantastic, Matt. He looks like a proper fullback. Gooch looks like a proper old school, none of this woke nonsense. Again, coming from a vegan, that's exceptionally hypocritical. I do understand that. But he's like, I like my back 4 to be proper defenders. None of this nonsense. They might overlap a little bit, but what I want my overlappers to do is just cross the ball in. None of this inside forward nonsense from your fullback. I want them to be 5'9", hard as nails, booking every week. Good with the throw-in, which I must say, Gooch's biggest asset was his throw-in. He just never stopped walking. He got the ball for a throw, right? And he just continuously walked. He was taking 15 yards further every time we got a throw-in. That's enough for me to love him alone. But like you said, yeah, exactly. But I think he'll wind up opposition fans. When we play away from home, Alpha Male wind everybody up. Taylor's going to be the king of winding people up this year, but I think Gooch will be up there as well. He's going to get sent off a couple of times because he's tackling that. Whilst I'm not on Cos's level saying it was a red card, it wasn't, but I think every time he went into tackle afterwards, I'm like, oh, is he going to go in here and get second yellow? Is he going to go here and get second yellow? And to be fair to Orient, I don't really feel like they targeted Watmore and Gooch enough once they did get the yellow cards. Because if I'm coaching the team, I'm thinking, right, they're on the, let's get the ball down that side as much as possible and try and buy ourselves a red card. Gooch looks like a massive upgrade over every other right back we have. In that it was Sorensen, and yes, he did okay when he came on. We all know that these questions when it comes to his strength and physicality in League One, I don't think is at it, especially as a right back in a back 4. Maybe as a wing back, but as a back 4, no. You've got Eccleston and Jay Sway. I know he plays left hand side a little bit, but that's kind of all we've got really as your right backs, haven't we? Gooch is fantastic, and if he's fit, Matt, I think he's the easiest pick to start 46 games this year because nobody else gives us what he gave us, especially in this hybrid, weird kind of off-centre formation, Matt. It was great. He looked fantastic. And you need players like that to succeed in this division. They're the guys, you plug and plays, you just put him in, you don't have to worry about it. You know he's going to do his job. There might be an odd mistake, but we'll pick him set up and he'll crack on afterwards. He'll be one of those foundation pieces, one of those building blocks, like Rowan will be, I think, on the left-hand side, if he does not get injured for too long. Those two guys at left and right back will be plug and play this year, and I don't think you'll have to change them very much.
Them two and Ledson will be your 3 who will absolute mainstays if they fit 100%.
Let's start wrapping up. We'll move on a bit quickly. Ruben Ruskin was he came on and played left wing. I prefer him at left back. As I've mentioned about a million times, and it's probably going to get boring to the level I keep mentioning it. he was like the biggest sort of source of controversy, I think, in terms of like or people how people differed on his opinion. I thought he struggled on the left wing. I thought he made a number of strange decisions which a natural winger wouldn't have done. But when you watch the highlights back, he crosses the ball for Alfie May's header. He plays the ball in for Ben Wiles' shot, and he scores a goal. So he actually has a pretty successful day overall when you do it. But it's when you're in the stadium at times, it was like, and he won the ball back, didn't he? High for the second as well for the penalty. So he's had quite a lot of success, but he had it was a strange day for him, wasn't it? Because I ended up giving him a 6 in the ratings, which is probably the lowest out of everyone, but end product wise was actually pretty good, but he kind of doesn't run beyond like a winger, doesn't run into those areas like a winger does, and it's strange. But I've said it before. Really, I'd have kept Miller where he was because I thought Miller was doing a lot of damage down the left and Ruskin behind. But he's the second manager in a row to do it now, isn't he, Grant? So there's got to be a reason to the rhyme, isn't there? Really.
It's chaos theory with him, Matt. You look at Ruskin, and it's difficult for me to say why he works, but he did against those 2 goals against Crawley, like made him a winger, didn't it? And he played there because he didn't have many other options at that point. He bagged a couple under Worthington, and that's kind of being it. But you can watch him, and if you look at the other 10 guys on the field, I think it was very fluid on Saturday. But when Ruskin got it, it felt like everything broke down a little bit, and that's probably been. I'm over exaggerating how it was, but it just felt like everybody else knew the role. And I think a good comparison is looking at Harness in that he's always played as a winger. Ruskin hasn't. He's only played, I think, prior to coming to us, 11 times as a winger. He's always played as either a just standard fullback in a back four, a couple of times as a wing back, but he's never really played as an attacking left as we're trying to play him into it. But you compare that to Harness, when he gets the ball, it's like chess. He knows what he's doing before he gets it. You feel like there's some sort of method to what he's doing. With Ruskin, his physicality and his traits in regards to speed and his tackling are second to none in the team. He's an athlete. He's an absolute athlete. And to be fair to him, he is clinical, Matt. If he's got a chance at that back post, like his goal on Saturday, you know he's going to put it away. He's really, really good at it. There's just other things that he does that you can tell he's not a natural winger. There was a moment where Ben Wiles drove it down the left-hand side. I think it was from the Alfie May header, but initially it was a 3-on-2. Ruskin gets the ball and cuts backwards and played it back into Miller because he didn't kind of understand the situation. It did pay off, but it wasn't from that decision. I think we've had a better outcome if he'd have known what to do at that point. But that's what you're going to get with Ruskin. But then if he scores, Matt, I'm going to be critical here if I say, well, he's playing in front three scoring, but you can't keep him in the team. If he's scoring goals, he's forcing himself into that reality because off the ball, and off the ball, like you say, Matt, he's probably the best of the 3 guys in that front line. Even Alfie May tracking back, Ruskin was the most effective at winning the ball back because he's so quick and he understands because he's a defender. And maybe that is a very unorthodox way to play this year, but maybe it'll work because of it, Matt. And with you that on the ball going forward, there's a disconnect, and maybe he'll learn it because, again, he's young when it comes to appearances in this role. And remember last year, every other striker that we had that played strikers for 10 years couldn't look like strikers. Maybe Ruskin in this will learn how to play that role because he has the attributes to do it. It's just you can see the understanding is not quite there yet, but it won't be there because he's not played it for very long.
Yeah, I think that's it. Probably 15 games down the line, we might feel very different about that, might we? And we'll see how that goes. I think what we've talked quite glowingly about the performance, haven't we? I think everyone will remind us is that this is match 1 of 46. There's 45 more games to go. And look, there's going to be thrills, spills. There's going to be times where we feel depressed. There's going to be times where we feel really happy. Hopefully more than what we have been doing. Harness, just finally, Harness as well. I was sort of like looking at Harness and I was like, well, he's not really creative. He doesn't really score a lot of goals, but he plays 10. And I've been trying to work out what kind of player he is. And it kind of clicked when I was watching it. I was like, oh yeah, I can see how intricate he is and how he links things quite well, and he wins the ball and he presses really well. And that ball he hit to Miller in the first half was brilliant, wasn't it? Ben Wiles, wasn't it, where he plays that ball over the top. And I just thought, do you know what? And there's another point where he moved across to the left, and he just moves intelligently, like you said earlier, about Ruskin not being natural there. Harness is, and he just moved laterally which is what Ruskin's not good at, but Harness really is, that lateral movement across. And there was a bit where he moved over to the left and he turned straight away, and got this cross in, which was blocked. But it was just such quick, intelligent, and incisive play. And I just thought, do you know what? I get Marcus Harness quite quickly, and I like a lot of what I see about him. And I was told as well that he was bulletproof before the season started, and he went off injured as well, didn't he, in the second half? But I think that was just a knock to the back. But I liked what I saw from him, Neil. I thought he was impressive.
For me, in the first half, he was our best player, to be honest. Really, really enjoyed watching him, and you can tell he's got that championship quality about him. He looked like a championship player in a League One match. He really, really did stand out, and I think, again, we'll caveat this, as we do with all players, keep him fit. And I think we've got a massive, massive asset on his hands there, because he did look head and shoulders in the first half. Absolutely different class.
Yeah, I think that's enough of us three talking for now. I think what we'll do is, so this season we've got the Andy Takes That Chance squad, who will be chiming in every now and then to offer their opinions as well. So if you want to join the TTC squad, let us know, to get in touch with us, and you can offer your thoughts as well. And this is a good 5 minutes or so of what mostly our Patreon subscribers felt about the game on Saturday.
Hi guys, I'm with my mate Josh Gorton here. He's an Arsenal fan, but he stayed up with me in Sydney last night, midnight, watched the game with me. Gortz, what do you think about Town's performance?
I thought it was a really impressive start. I mean, having lost 4-1 to Orient in the last game of last season, to come back and put in a performance like that was really encouraging. You can see the attacking patterns, obviously, that have been implemented with the new manager. I thought you moved the ball well, you were a real threat going forward throughout. I think, yeah, really impressive display. The only possibly, not negative, but I thought you looked a little bit open in transition at times, but I thought the attacking players all worked really hard in terms of the tracking back and putting a shift in, and I thought you were good value for the 3 points.
Yeah, obviously you're not a Town fan, but you've got a bit of soft spot because of me, haven't you? You're
100%, 100%.
You got a soft spot, but like you said, we're attacking, weren't we? But when the ball turned over, we looked a little bit open.
You did, but I've also got to say, I think Orient, I don't know League One to the level that you do, but Orient do have quite a few players who are really a real threat in transition. Obviously, Connolly, former Brighton player, Premier League proven, so they moved the ball pretty quickly, Orient had a couple of openings early on, but your keeper didn't have too much to do either, so yeah, I think a really positive start for you.
Are we going up?
Definitely.
Hey up, it's Terrier Jack here. I thought it was a really good game today. We looked really good. Marcus Harness was probably my man of the match. Constantly looked like he was dangerous going down that side. Always seemed to have the defender wound up. I thought Lyndon Gooch was really good as well. Seemed to really slot in straight away and giving us a bit of confidence at fullback, which we've not really had with Sorensen and Miller in between injuries. I thought Miller was good as well. I much preferred him higher up the pitch than with Ruskin. I thought Ruskin seemed to just, any move we had, he sort of seemed to mess it up slightly, but he scored a great goal, so hopefully it's just a bit of confidence he needs. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Team still needs to gel, so if we're scoring 3 now, in a month, 2 months' time, we should be scoring fairly regularly. Cheers.
Good afternoon, Town fans. My name is Ben Williams, and I'm here to discuss the Leyton Orient versus Huddersfield game. So we started off really well, even though it could have gone different if Connolly had converted. Luckily for us, he didn't. Then Ben Wiles, Killer's favourite, going up the other end and had a really good shot just off the post. And a couple minutes later, Herbie Kane whips in across to an unmarked Joe Lowe, surprisingly. He smashes it home with his head. After that, I feel we grow a bit complacent and sort of ease off a bit, allowing Leyton Orient to grow into the game. And towards the end of the half, we were hanging on a bit for half-time. Second half starts and Leyton Orient were miles on top. And we sort of broke, got a good attack going, and I think it was Ben Wiles brought down in the box, and somehow Huddersfield get a penalty at home. And there's only one man to step up and convert it. What a guy he is, Alfie May. And from then, I think the tie kind of swung back around into our favour, and we were comfortable for the rest of the game. For Orient, showed slight flashes, but without really looking like they're going to score. Connolly, apart from the chance Connolly had where he pretty much missed an open goal, where it should be his bread and butter, you would think. And then finally, towards the end, our very good winger, Ruskin, shows his quality from an awful Joe Taylor shot, but he smashes it past Semkin and we score. For me, man of the match was Ben Wiles. I thought he was fantastic. Yeah, we were just good, but not great, yet still won 3-0. So who can complain? Up the town.
Hi, this is James Bartleby with a quick review of the first game of the season. How good is it to have football back, by the way? Early goal always helps, doesn't it? Always helps new manager, new players, especially when it's someone who's going to be as popular as Joe Lowe is going to be. It's really good to see him put one away to get us in front. And holy crap, we got a penalty at home and we scored it. Alfie May off the mark, looked absolutely sensational. Never stopped for the time he was on the pitch before he got subbed. Another one the fans are just going to absolutely adore this season. And yeah, just a really decent performance. The move for the third goal as well was really good. Obviously, the shot was a terrible one from Taylor, but it landed perfectly for Ruskin to smash it home. So yeah, clean sheet, 3 goals, 3 points. Couldn't really ask for more, could you, for day one of a new era?
I've got my 1 minute or less review on Town versus Leyton Orient. Where do I even start, man? It's a completely different team than what we've seen. You could just see it in the way that they press, in the way that they run. They didn't even look tired after running that whole match. Like, they looked like they could go another 90 minutes. I mean, that was just, what a day. We weren't even close to perfect, and we're cruising to a 3-0 win against possibly the best manager in the league. So it makes you really excited about this season, doesn't it? That we're able to do that right out of the gates, already first in the table. I mean, I know it doesn't mean much after one game, but it's nice to see us up at the top.
Hi, Will here. A really pleasing result today. More from the flexibility and determination of display rather than the result itself, but really pleasing. It was 2 developing teams playing against each other, but we hit the ground running perhaps a bit faster. Clearly changes were made at half time and the final team was very different to that at the start, but the thread was positive. Looking forward to the next game.
It's Josh Armfield, going to keep this really short. It was one of the first home games for a long time that I've enjoyed. Our press was super aggressive and Orient couldn't deal with it. So yeah, I hope we can keep it up. But yeah, had a really good day.
There we go. Thanks to the squad for getting in touch. All very positive there. All very positive and enjoying themselves. I think there's just 1 or 2 things to cover off. We've been going for well over an hour here because we're very excited about things. Killer, I think now is the time for you to sit there and tell everyone how right you were about Ben Wiles.
Do you know
Enjoy.
what? Have we got another hour? I've got another hour, 2 hours. No, Matt, it's just, I think you can look at Ben Wiles and he frustrates people because he tries to force things. He tries to make things happen. The problem is we've tried to shoehorn him into a midfield with Anthony Evans that just never worked. We tried it over and over again. Prior to that, he had to play with Johnny Hogg, who I absolutely love and is a fantastic legend of Huddersfield Town. And I don't use that word lightly, but his legs have gone. That's really disrespectful to say that way. But his level of playing did drop somewhat over the last couple of seasons. And I just always felt that Ben Wiles had to overwork to adjust for everybody else's inability to play in that midfield. And Saturday was one of the few times, I think, since Ben Wiles has joined where we've dominated midfield and it's just enabled him to do what he wants to do, which is to be that attacking midfielder. He's not a defensive midfielder, but just like Alfie May runs back, Matt, when he doesn't necessarily need to. But I feel Wild does that sometimes in that he overruns to cover other people's mistakes, and that takes away his attacking impetus. I can't believe how fast he is. I thought the thing that stood out for me about him this weekend was he would break in the lines more like a centre forward, and he was running the channels really well. He was running from the beginning to the end, and I think some Town fans have said previously that he gives up. I don't think he does. I think he's knackered half the time because he's played in a midfield where it hasn't been to his benefit, and he's trying to cover issues elsewhere. In a team that does dominate games, like I'm expecting Town to do this year, I think you'll see a different Ben Wiles. And to be fair, Matt, last year when we did win those games, it was normally Ben Wiles scoring or creating. His stats weren't bad. when the season was still live. When Town went to shit, he went to shit. In the midfield battle didn't really exist, and we just gave every one of them away. But I do expect that this year, if we're in games and we're competitive and we're creating chances and we're playing front foot football as we expect on the back of Saturday, you'll see a different Ben Wiles. And I think a lot of fans will come around a little bit more to him. He's not a northern football kind of guy like I think Lyndon Gooch is. I think he's more northern football when it comes to what Town fans like to see. But when you do score goals, when you do get assists, when you're a part of a leadership group that wins as many games as I'm now expecting to this year, I think fans will come around to him a little bit more.
Attendance on Saturday, so we were worried, weren't we, that we were going to be, I think Cozzy was predicting sub 10k, wasn't he, in the WhatsApp group, and I don't think there was ever any danger of that. 17,000 was the amount. It didn't look to be 450 from Leyton Orient, I'll be honest. They only looked to be sort of 100 or so there. It looked quite low from our angle. Maybe they were a little bit further back, and I couldn't. 1,000, pretty good. And to be honest, it felt like this last season, same people around me. It didn't seem to be any more or any less than last year, in fairness. So pretty good overall, I guess.
Winning football, whoever want that on Saturday, winning football gets you through gates. Simple.
Yeah, I think I know it's still a sore subject, isn't it? The price for some, but I thought the gate was good and well done to everyone who's taken the plunge, and those that haven't. There's no, that it's everyone's choice, and not everyone can afford to do it. And you can follow us for the advice, or not advice, but for the coverage, can't you, on our Patreon if you really want to. One last thing, Killer. Obviously, we've got the new show as well, the Town Social. The Huddersfield Town Social will be on our channels this midweek.
Yes, it will, and it's the same people being as silly as usual with their not quite as insightful. I can say it because they're not quite as insightful views on Town as ours are, but they might be a little bit funnier, Matt. But I think they're going Wednesday or Thursday this week, depending on availability and selection. But I just want to sign off, Matt, tonight from me in that I am old school football. I like 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1. I think that's kind of our era's 4-4-2 in it. Like growing up, it was 4-2-3-1 came in, and that's how I like to see football. But one thing I really don't like about that era was this nonsense that you don't get too high when you win and you don't get too low when you lose. Stuff like get rid of that. Just ignore that this weekend, right? What's happened this weekend's brilliant. Town have gone out against a team that was in the playoff final. We'll ignore all the caveats we've put in before that in this podcast in regards to them having a totally different team. But go high this week. Honestly, it's a fantastic performance, a fantastic win, and we should all be very excited about what's going to go on. I'm not going to get carried away and saying we're top two. I'm not saying that, but I will say there is absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Obviously, table at this time of year.
But there's nothing to be scared of at all. This Town team have a chance. There's an opportunity to do something great this year with the way we went about the game on Saturday, and now I watched the Bolton Stockport game today. I've watched bits of the Peterborough game against Cardiff on Saturday as well. There's nothing to be scared of. If Town get this right, with the quality that we've brought in, with the togetherness we showed so quickly in a game on Saturday, there is no reason why we can't do something really, really good this year. And at these moments when you are top of the league after one game, you have to really, really enjoy it, because we've had so many years of dross football that even when we won, it wasn't good. This was, and I think it's going to happen more often this year than it has for a long time. So just enjoy it, because we've had enough shite to have to not be able to enjoy the wins. So we have to enjoy them again.
Well, I predicted top two, and I'm sticking with it. Have that.
You're right for the first weekend, absolutely. Neil, Killer, thanks for joining.
Pleasure. I hope he's frozen again.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.